Hello, welcome back to my channel and to another vintage tips and tricks video. First up, I have to say a huge thank you to you guys for 50K. I kind of can't believe I'm here. It's been a goal for so long for me, and I think I had sort of a lot of obstacles in the way. It was one of those things where like the pandemic and even moving countries and things is one of those things that can kind of make or break a channel. It can either be like really interesting, and if the person makes lots of content, people find it interesting and follow along, or it can break you a bit like me, where I was just kind of like really struggling through the whole thing and struggling to maintain like consistency and like find myself and what I wanted to put on the channel and stuff. So I'm so grateful to you guys who've stuck with me throughout while I found my footing and found what I really wanted the channel to be, which is just my channel and myself, and hopefully you guys like it. But in the end, I guess I just have to make the videos that I want to make, and I think that's the thing. So yeah, just thanks so much. So I popped up a post a little while ago saying once I hit 50K, I would do a Q&A, and here we are. A bunch of you sent in questions both on the post via YouTube and on Instagram. I also just got my hair cut back into my Liz Taylor style. It is not styled at the moment. It's just literally dried naturally, and then I brushed it just before, which is why it's all puffy. So I thought I would do my hair while I do that, because I haven't done one of these hair tutorials since I lived in Paris, so it's been a long time. It's quite simple actually to do your hair like this, so hopefully that's helpful to some of you, and I will answer your burning questions.
What have you got if you haven't got love?
If you are new to my channel, it's kind of a weird video for you to join my channel with, but here we are. If you're new to my channel, my name is B Townsend. I am a vintage glamour enthusiast and musician who now lives in France. In case you're wondering why I randomly speak French sometimes on this channel, I do vintage beauty and style videos with a little bit of sustainability, veganism, and lifestyle thrown in for good measure. So if that sounds like your jam, you can always click the subscribe button and the notification bells, and that way you'll know when my videos come out. C'est parti. Okay, I'm gonna start by just spritzing my hair with some setting lotion. Don't get excited, I haven't found a good one in France yet, although I have seen some other people who are in France using Carrefour setting lotion. Carrefour is like the equivalent of Woolworths for Australia, or like Sainsbury's in the UK. So just a normal supermarket, and they have a lot of home brand stuff. I am intrigued as to whether that is any good, and I will invest in that once I've finished up my UK Superdrug setting lotion. But yes, I'm just spritzing that and brushing it through my hair, and then I'm just going to be doing very simple pin curls. So let's get to the first question. I'm gonna start with the YouTube post. First of all, I have to say there are so many beautiful comments here. I didn't go and look at the comments that people left on this post because I wanted to save them for this video, and now I'm seeing that a lot of them are just people saying congratulations and being absolute sweethearts, and yeah, you guys are beautiful. I just love you guys so much. I feel so lucky to have this little community, and I see so many names regularly that have been watching my channel for so long, and it is really such a joy to see your names pop up again and again. I know I don't always get to answer all of your comments, but I do see them, and I do really appreciate it when you go to the effort to comment. I do read all the comments. I may not necessarily respond to all of them just because of the time that it takes and the volume of them, but I do read every single one, so thank you. Tips on relationships. That wasn't one I was necessarily expecting, but hey, let's start there. I think the thing is that everyone's relationship is different, isn't it? So I can't really give you any like killer tips on relationships because I'm not a psychologist or a relationship counselor. I will say I think the thing that I have learned over the years is communication is like the most important thing, and that a lot of the time if you just assume your partner doesn't want to pick a fight with you, like it's very rare, unless you're in a relationship with a narcissist or someone who's really not a nice person, your partner doesn't want to fight with you. They're being defensive, there's been a misunderstanding, they don't feel listened to, etc., you know? So if you just sort of take a deep breath and ask them why they're upset instead of getting defensive yourself, and just, you know, treat them like a human being. Imagine how you feel. Like, put yourself in their shoes. Think, if this was me right now, what would I want and need from the other person? Because I think there's a lot of like expectation that our partners are gonna like fulfill us and read our minds, and we have like this ideal partner in our head, and when our partner who's just a human being doesn't live up to that expectation, which is impossible because those people don't really exist, it's like his made up fantasy, then we feel really upset and angry with them when actually they're just, just being a human being. I'm actually gonna do these a bit bigger. I've done them very tight, like in my normal pin curling. I've gone into auto mode when I should be doing much bigger pin curls than I usually would for like a 40 style or something, because I want a volume. So I think communication is the key thing, and just like working on yourself. That is the biggest thing that I have done. I had a lot to work on. I think it's so easy for us to focus on, our partner's shortcomings and not realistically say to ourselves, what did I do wrong? Because especially once a relationship is over, like learning from a breakup, when you break up with someone, the reality is that whatever they did doesn't matter anymore. They're not in your life, but figuring out what you can do differently going forward to be a better partner to someone else is the most beneficial thing that you can do for yourself and whoever you're with next. But most importantly for yourself, by bettering yourself, and not specifically by bettering yourself as a partner, but just by bettering yourself in general and making sure that you are happy within yourself and with your life, you're automatically going to be a better partner. Because a lot of the reasons that we argue with our partners, or we have problems with our partners, or even pick the wrong partners, is because we don't understand our own needs. And we also don't understand how to care for ourselves, not in like the wider sense of, paying the bills and having a job and making sure that we're responsible and all that, but I mean self-soothing, regulating our emotions, making sure that we give ourselves what we need and don't expect our partner to be everything to us. It's not our partner's job to fulfill us, it's just someone that we are walking through life with, but we are two individuals, and not sort of getting codependent once we're in a relationship. I think they're the biggest things. So that was deep, but yeah, that's kind of the main thing that I have learnt most recently. And with my hair, I'm literally just doing slightly bigger than normal standing pin curls to create volume on the top and not taking too much hair at a time. Yeah, that's pretty much it. And at the back, I'm just rolling everything down. I have a whole video on this, so I won't sort of go too much into this because you can hear about me talking about my grandma and all that, and I do go into some of this stuff more on my Patreon. But one thing that I realized influenced me greatly when I was younger, and I'd completely forgotten about, was the TV show The Darling Buds of May. I rediscovered it. It got suggested to me randomly on YouTube. And of course, one of the biggest influences was Catherine Zeta-Jones in that show. That was like her breakout role. She had previously been on, it was like the worst pinko ever. She had previously been on the West End in the UK. She is a fantastic singer and dancer, and they had been on this like nationwide search to find the oldest daughter of the Larkin family, and she got spotted outside West End after a show and asked to audition because they were looking for this dark-haired beauty, but that was quite, a firecracker. And she's fantastic in the role, but her outfits, casual when she's dressed up, her wedding outfit, everything is to die for. And I remember just thinking that she looked amazing when I was a child. Didn't kind of realize how much of my style, particularly when I was younger, and probably the fact that I like to dress very 50s specifically, probably came from that show. Her and the second oldest daughter, Primrose, have like a very late 50s, early 60s, because it's actually set, I think, from 1960 or maybe like 58 to 62-ish. So you get to see a lot of those styles. I'm just showing you, I've just done standing pin curls kind of randomly. I'm not really, it's kind of a tousled hairdo anyway, so I'm not really doing them in any particular direction. I do have a video where I use hot rollers where I do like rows in different directions, which does have a very beautiful result and gives you a very particular wave. You can do it that way, but I'm doing the lazy version that I honestly regularly do. That version, just don't have the time and energy to do that day to day. So this is how I do my hair on a day-to-day basis when it's this length. I used to not want to tell people how old I was, but I just don't care anymore, especially seeing as this age, or this decade I should say, is the best one I've had so far, because I am so much more confident. I understand myself. I feel like I know who I am. I don't really give a shit what people think anymore. And I'm 35, I just turned 35. And I like it. I think it's very common when you're in your 20s, and I think for millennials as well, like we put a lot of pressure on ourselves to be sort of perfect and to not talk about our feelings too much and not be a burden on other people and things like that. And I think I had a lot of that going on. And over the last few years, I've sort of realized I just don't have to do any of that shit, you know? It's so nice. It's nice to realize that and let a lot of that go and actually just enjoy my life right now and be grateful for what I have. This next one is from Alex Gatto, who has been around for a long time in my comment section, watching my channel, and who always leaves really interesting comments, fantastic tips, suggestions for videos. Thanks, Alex. Confidence is key. I think it depends on the type of music that you're in, whether or not you need training or not. I used to be very much having trained as a musician at a tertiary level. And I think because I'm in jazz as well, like I used to be very much like you should be a trained musician. And sometimes it does frustrate me when I know very talented and skilled musicians who are not getting the recognition that they deserve or the work that they deserve. But at the same time, I have to respect people who are very passionate about it and maybe don't have the same level of talent and skill. And that's not always the case. Sometimes there's successful people out there who are incredibly talented and skilled, but other people might get into the industry not being particularly talented, in inverted commas, or at least visibly talented initially, or even skilled initially, but they're just really determined and they work really, really hard, and they gain the skills and the experience and reveal their talent along the way. And I think that is so much more important than any amount of education and natural talent or raw talent that's just visible to people without you really doing anything. And as a teacher of music, I taught vocal production or singing teaching for a long time, since I was 17. And you know, some of my students who everybody always said, wow, they've got such a great voice, they're so naturally talented, they're gonna make it. The problem with that is that everyone's always telling you how great you are, and everything comes quite easily because people give you opportunities and the drive is not there, you know? And I think too, when other people push you to do something because you're good at it, sometimes you don't really know whether you want to do it or whether everyone just expects you to. And then it becomes a bit of a crisis, you know? This has gone deep again, but I think the main thing is the motivation and the drive and the amount of time and energy you put into it. Doing a lot of practice for many, many years, and actually just putting yourself out there and gaining experience. Because when I say practice, I mean practice doing the job. I don't just mean sitting at home by yourself singing songs or playing an instrument, but actually getting out there, getting practice on stage, in bands, on television, whatever kind of performing you want to do. If you do it for long enough and get enough hours under your belt, enough experience under your belt, you will make it. That's all there is to it. Like it's not giving up. I would say, being an influencer, number one, it's about the quality of your content. Make good quality videos and pictures. It does matter whether or not it's a good quality camera, whether you know how to, use lighting correctly when you model, whether you know how to find your light, do you know how to pose correctly? That kind of stuff is very important because people just won't pay attention to what you have to say if you have bad quality material, if your photos are not good quality and your videos are not good quality. I was sort of lucky, my early videos are terrible quality, but I was also on YouTube at a time where everyone's videos were terrible quality. Now the standard is so high that you kind of have to enter at that standard. That's just the way it is. But there are so many ways for you to learn that. There are so many people teaching that. There are influencers doing courses. There's Skillshare with people, doing lessons. You can get the information for free on YouTube. Like, it's so easy to find out how to use a good quality DSLR camera, or even just use, your iPhone or your smartphone if it has a good camera. Then it's consistency. You need to upload all the time. You can't miss a day. The reason I haven't grown as fast as I initially wanted to, and that was my sort of goal trajectory, is simply because, I went through shitty periods in my life and I couldn't find the motivation to upload, and I would have grown a lot quicker if I had uploaded for the whole time that I've been on YouTube, every single week without stopping. And there's plenty of people out there who've done that and they have huge followings because the numbers are there, the consistency, the algorithm rewards you if you are consistent. Paying attention to the stats, seeing what people are interested in on your Instagram and on your channel, and making content like that. Looking at the comments, a lot of people keep asking for the same thing. Make that content, not just making it for yourself, especially early on. Once you have a big audience, you can kind of make whatever videos you like, as long as you're not actually annoying people or turning people off. But in the early stages, you need to make the videos people want to watch. I started on YouTube making music videos. No one cared. Then I put out some vintage style videos and people really liked it. So that's what I continued doing. So yeah, they're the sort of biggest things. Understanding the creative process side and doing that well, and then understanding the behind the scenes, because people don't realize that the biggest part of the job is really analytics, SEO, understanding audience fluctuations, reading all of the behind the scenes stats that you get when you have a creator profile or a business profile, and then working to that. Find your niche. Find your personality, be yourself online so that you can be authentic all the time. Because I think we've all seen people who sort of create a persona online and then they're stuck with that. That's the other thing, is like, that's all very well, but you have to be that person for the rest of your time online. And if you're online for a decade, you can get very sick of pretending to be someone that you're not. And you might find it stops you wanting to make content. So find your authentic self, because you're so much more relatable that way. And find your niche. What makes you different to everybody else? If you go and look at all the creators that you love online, and this is the other thing, is study other people's profiles, look back through their history. At what point did they suddenly take off? What did they do right? What did people suddenly really like about them? And then how do they sort of market themselves after that point? You'll find that most of them discovered a formula and then stuck to that. And they all found a formula that was unique to them. This curl does not want to do as it's told. So yeah, they're the tips basically. It's a lot of work. Like, you might have to find 40 to 50 hours a week to do social media alongside having a full-time job. And that's the reality of it. It's not as simple as just putting some photos up and having it take off one day. Even the people that you think are making content that is kind of pointless or, you know, frivolous, they're still putting all of the time into making the videos, editing them, doing the research about what people find interesting, etc. Even if you think the actual content itself isn't offering much, they're still doing a lot of work. I absolutely freaking love it though. I wouldn't be doing this if I didn't love it. It's a surprising amount of work. Like everything, my whole life. That's sort of funny saying that though, because I say that my whole life has gone completely differently to what I thought, which is true. But at the same time, I have also done exactly what I always wanted to do. Like, I wanted to move and live overseas in Paris and London and New York. They were the places I wanted to live since I was like 14 years old. That was my plan. And I've lived in Paris and London. I don't really want to live in New York anymore, but that's just because of, like, sorry Americans, but like the political climate right now, I don't really want to be in the US. I love the US as a country, and I think people from the US, I have a lot of friends who are American and they are the most beautiful people. And when I went to America, I had the best time. I have always wanted to live, if I could pick anywhere in the world, I would probably pick LA. Not like Hollywood, the sort of creative side of LA, because like Echo Park or Venice Beach or something like that. I would absolutely love to live there. But in terms of politics, healthcare, guns, no. The adult version of B is like, nah, probably good, eh? I'm happy with visiting. But yeah, I did that. I wanted to do acting and music. I do music, I have done acting. And weirdly enough, in a strange roundabout way, I guess, like, I'm on camera, dressing vintage, getting to be glamorous. I didn't really care about being famous. It was more about wanting to be like an old Hollywood movie star more than anything. I wanted to be an Audrey Hepburn or a Marilyn Monroe. So I kind of did exactly what I said I was gonna do. But how I went about it and what happened along the way, none of that was how I thought it was gonna go. Relationships, visas, career path, health, like everything. It was dog's breakfast, really. But at the same time, I don't regret any of those things because I am who I am because of all of those life experiences, you know? So it's not about me complaining. It's just, I think I might have made things much more difficult on myself than they needed to be. It's a big part of my personality, really, is choosing the most difficult possible path to do things. I'm very stubborn and I'm a perfectionist. It's not a good combination. But I'm getting better at that stuff, guys. I think YouTube has been a great thing to teach me how to let go of being a perfectionist and being stubborn, because you have to put content out every week if you want the algorithm to show you to anyone. You can't spend months perfecting one video. So you kind of just have to put it out there, even if it's not very good, unless you just want to film another whole video in 24 hours. I'm just going to show you guys the back. It could be an absolute mess, I have no idea. I'm literally just pin curling everything under. This is, I think, probably more to do with my personality, is that I've always been quite the performer and I've always been on stage. And also, I don't really talk about my family much because I prefer to keep my private life separate, but I had a pretty alternative upbringing. I think in most ways that it could possibly be different, it was different. As a result of that, I never kind of really fit in any way. It wasn't just about the way that I dressed. I've always been someone who's quite confident socially, so I made friends very easily, but at the same time, I always felt very misunderstood. And I had a lot of people questioning, you know, whether it was friends at school, questioning my life or the things that I did, or the people around me. And so I was quite used to that pushback. And so dressing vintage wasn't really a big deal for me. I just really didn't care what people thought. And I think when I was younger, I used to think, oh, if people are staring at me or they don't like the way that I'm dressing, that's their problem. And as I got older, I realized that lots of people stare when you dress vintage because they actually think you look really nice. When I smile at people, I find they quite often, suddenly their face lights up and they smile and they'll go, oh, I just wanted to let you know I was staring because I think you look lovely. Or they'll say something more specific about my outfit or my hair or makeup or whatever. A lot of the time when we see someone staring at us, we assume it's because they're having a negative reaction, and actually they're just staring either because it's different or because they like it. Some days I just don't want people to stare at me or compliment me, or, you know, like even like when I'm out and about, like particularly in France, a lot of men want to compliment you. They don't harass you. In Australia, the sexual harassment is kind of much more scary and violent and nasty. Whereas I found in Europe, it's more the, oh, you're beautiful, hey, I want to talk to you. It's complimentary, but they're still sexually harassing you and you just want to be left alone. On those days, I'll just do like bitch face, stare straight ahead, don't acknowledge that they exist kind of thing. I would never not dress the way that I want to dress because of someone else. I definitely have my lazy days. Like when I'm not dressed vintage, I'm in sports gear. Pretty much that's it. I only own sports gear and vintage or vintage reproduction. I don't own like normal modern clothing. I actually find I get harassed more if I go out wearing sloppy clothes. If I put on a pair of tracky dacks, I've got a ponytail in and I've been lying on the couch and like half of it is falling out and is all like scrunched up, and like I have smeared lipstick and like, you know, the mascara bags under my eyes, and I go out to buy like a tub of ice cream. Wow, it sounds really sad. Like I'm not like crying or anything, I'm just watching a movie and felt like ice cream. But if I do that, I get way more people looking at me, men saying like sleazy, disgusting comments or like yelling things at me, or the sexual harassment is way worse. I find when I dress vintage, people kind of treat me like a lady, I guess, because I'm dressing kind of like what those people think of as a lady, or like their mum maybe. But yeah, going under the radar has never really been my thing. I would rather just ice someone out. In terms of lifestyle, because all of our cities are on the coast, the lifestyle is great. Everyone thinks the cost of living is very high in Australia, which it is, but also wages are very high. So like a wage in Australian dollars, you know, if you just look at the number and you're not thinking about the exchange rate, is double that in Europe and England. And then the cost of things isn't quite double. Yeah, the balance is better in Australia. Things are cheaper and you get more for your buck. Like you might pay high rent, but our apartments are bigger, our houses are bigger, you have more space, you can live in a better area. Like I lived a very trendy young lifestyle in Australia, like cafe culture lifestyle, you know, going out for lunches and brunches on weekends and bars on weeknights and stuff like that. In my early 20s, I could not afford to do that like 2 years ago in London. So financially things went backwards for me, even though I actually was earning more money technically. In that sense, like Australia is a pretty amazing place to live. The people are lovely. I miss my friends in Australia greatly. I think we have the most amazing group of people in terms of creatives in Australia. It's just that the industry is so far behind. That's why so many talented Australians leave. I think Australia is full of very motivated, hardworking people who are also very kind. There's positives and negatives in every country. Like if I look at it in terms of France, like the bureaucracy here and the paperwork and how hard it is to do literally anything. I've got a video about the differences between France and Australia, like culture shocks. I'll link it up above. So yes, I don't know, like as a hard one, I could do a whole video on that. I could talk for like an hour on what I've learned about Australia and when I think about it. I still love my home country. I have no interest in living there. It's not for me. The weather and the food, but yeah, the general lifestyle and for relationships, I would rather live in Europe. I am going to let this dry, and after I come back and start styling my hair, I will answer the questions from Instagram, which I have screenshotted. I'm gonna do a cliche closeout. It's gonna be a couple of hours for me. It will be mere seconds for you. Okay, my hair has dried and all I have done is take the pin curl clips out. I have not styled it, brushed it, teased it, or anything. I'm now gonna take my spray and spray my roots a little bit, just to give it a little bit of texture and hopefully height. So I'm not spraying the ends, I'm spraying the roots and then like rubbing it in. And then I'm basically just gonna run my fingers through my hair. I am 167 centimeters to be exact, or just under 5'6", a little bit less, like 5'5.5". My all-time favorite beauty inspiration. I don't really have one in particular, but I suppose if I model my makeup and hair after anyone the most, it's probably like Ava Gardner, I suppose. She has quite simple things, but it's like a big mix. It's like Elizabeth Taylor, Marilyn Monroe, Ava Gardner. They're probably the main ones. I'm just gonna do a little bit of teasing on the top here because I have very fine hair. I often struggle a little bit with the volume up the front here. If you have dyed hair or thicker hair than me in terms of the individual strands, you might not really need to do this, but alas, I do. No, I've always kind of been like that. I moved to Melbourne on my own. I didn't move overseas on my own. I moved with Val. I suppose that helped a bit, like to be moving with someone who I know speaks the language. But I was planning on going on my own anyway to Montreal, where they speak French, alone. So I wouldn't say that it was sort of because of Val, because I would have done it anyway. But I think it did help knowing that he spoke the language. I have to get my mirror in front of me because honestly, this styling is not going well because I cannot see anything in this little tiny viewfinder. So I think doing plenty of research. The first time I moved, when I moved to Paris, I looked for a job before I left. So I sort of knew that I would have work here, which definitely made me feel a bit more comfortable. I practiced language beforehand, although to be honest, it didn't help me very much. I really couldn't speak French when I got here. It's one thing to be like practicing the same phrases over and over again with an audiobook, but to actually really be using them in real life and understanding what people say when they speak to you in their own language very quickly with the accent and everything. Yeah, I really didn't actually learn French until I got here. At the time, I thought I was going to be able to speak well and communicate with people, and that made me feel better about going, if that makes sense. I did not feel like I was in the right place. I always felt like I needed to go on an adventure or go somewhere else to find myself, and so that's why I did it. I actually felt such a strong drive and motivation, and like I needed to leave. There was never really a thought in my mind that I didn't want to do it or I was too scared. But I think I had a bit of a thing of like running away, not running away from my problems, but that I would find myself somewhere else, and really in the long run, you are who you are wherever you go. I've definitely found myself happier in some places. Like I'm much happier here in France than I was in England, even though I made fantastic friends in England and I had better connections and things for my business. Just day-to-day life, I prefer in France. Know why you're doing it. Like, I knew I wanted to go and have an adventure with my life, so that was a great motivator for me, but your motivation might be something different. A friend of mine said, when am I coming back to Melbourne to visit? Hopefully soon. The airfares are extremely expensive because of the war over here and the fact that so many flights were grounded during the summer vacation from England and all over Europe. So the companies are trying to recuperate their losses by charging an exorbitant amount to go back to Australia at the moment. So I'm hoping like February next year, maybe, but I originally said September this year and then December, and now it's February next year. So I hope it's soon. I'm really sick of having to postpone going home and seeing my family and friends. Another friend of mine said, do you know how much I miss you? Hint, it's a lot. I miss you too, Bex. Favorite TV show? I think like of all time? That's a tricky one. This is not really sitting how I want it to be a bit more like voluminous. That's not too bad. I don't mind that. Darling Buds of May, Sex and the City. I know it's outdated now, but I, have loved it and still love it despite its foibles. They're the two TV shows that I have watched over and over again, like multiple times. So for now, let's leave it at that. I'm sure there's more, but yeah, Sex and the City and the Darling Buds of May. My next goal would be 100,000. That's kind of my dream number in terms of like being comfortable with my business and making money in the online space. I know, it shouldn't all be about money and the number of followers, but that is a number. That means I think I could be bringing in pretty consistent, regular income from working online without being afraid all the time that it might all just go away. I mean, that can always happen, but I'm like just on the edge of this being a full-time job. Like, I've just made it. I still want to write my book, my ebook. I would love to publish a book one day with a publisher. Yeah, I think for now, I think that's enough goals. I'm kind of just enjoying doing it. Like, I don't want to make it so goal oriented all the time because I've done that in the past, and then that kind of like, I don't know, become a bit like too focused on that aspect of it, So I think just enjoying the process. Properly release my merch, which I have designed, but I need to order it and like check that I'm happy with the quality of it and everything, which is why I haven't announced it despite the fact that it is actually technically available, but I don't want to encourage you guys to purchase it if I haven't actually tried it myself. So I will be doing that very soon. So that's exciting. Merch coming very soon. So guys, that was the last question. I think I will leave it there, obviously because there aren't any more questions, but also I've just rambled on so much in this video. But once again, thank you so much for 50K. I hope this was interesting for you. I know it was a bit of a blabbery video, but I guess it's always nice to share and connect in that way. I like watching long blabbery videos where people share stuff about themselves, so hopefully you guys do too. Back to the normal content next week, and here's to the next 50K. Love you guys so much. See you in next week's video. Bye.